Alright, section 4.6 introduces a new strategy for solving our quadratic equations, and that's solving with square roots. Ultimately, the goal with our solving by square roots is to learn completing the square process, but we're going to step into that with this solving with square roots. Alright, so here is our first example, I guess, example 1a, and I'll do two examples where we solve with square roots. Let's solve our equation. 7x squared minus 10 equals 25. The goal when we are solving with square roots is to get the part that's squared, in this case it's just the x, by itself. And if you think about, if this was just an x here, how would you solve your equation? You'd add 10 to both sides. Should give us 7x squared equals 35. And then you'd divide by 7. Giving us x squared equals 5. Now, what numbers squared would give us 5, and how are we going to get our answer? To get rid of this exponent here, my squared, my second power, we can square root both sides. So x is the square root of 5. And the square root of 5 isn't a nice whole number. It's an irrational number. It's a decimal that continues forever and it doesn't repeat. So we'll leave it as the square root of 5. One other thing to think about though, if I take the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, I get 5. But if I take the negative square root of 5 times the negative square root of 5, a negative times a negative, I still get positive 5. So whenever we take the square root of both sides of an equation, we could get positive square root of 5 or negative square root of 5. So again, anytime we take the square root, we could have a plus or minus for our answer. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 5 is our final answer. And you could have said x equals the square root of 5, x equals negative square root of 5, and that means the same thing. This is just a way to kind of condense our answer a little bit more. Alright, we can also use square roots of both sides to solve an equation that looks like this. 4 times x plus 2 squared equals 28. And again, the same idea, we need to get the squared part by itself. In this case, though, x plus 2 is all getting squared. So let's figure out what I need to get rid of. I need to get rid of this 4 first. Divide both sides by 4. We get x plus 2 squared equals, divided by 4, we get 7. Now I have this exponent, and I have to get rid of my exponent before I can do anything else. Square root both sides. And since I took the square root, I could have positive square root of 7, I could have negative square root of 7. And I have x plus 2 left over here. X plus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 7. One last step to get x by itself, I need to subtract 2 from both sides. And since this is a square root, and the 2 doesn't have a square root, I can't combine those. We don't have like terms. I'm going to write this as x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 7. And typically you'll see the negative 2 come first, just because then you know for sure that negative 2 isn't underneath the square root. It's totally separate from your square root. So negative 2 plus or minus square root of 7 is our final answer.